Hi everyone, Anthony Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Ken Carson album, A Great Chaos. This is the third full-length LP from rapper Ken Carson, one of the most influential artists in this current wave of rage music, and also one of the bigger names on Playboi Carti's OPIUM label at the moment. Now, I first reviewed the man's music back in 2022 with his record X, which generally I thought was pretty unimpressive, while aesthetically it fit right into that rage lane with the crisp, repetitive trap beats, bright synthy instrumentals, and some harsh distortion caked onto everything on occasion. There was still something about it that felt way shoddier than everything to come before it in the genre, from the vocal mixing to the rapping to the compression being so heavy on almost everything in the mix that the vocals and beats were kind of crackling. At the end of the day, it all felt very ham-fisted and clueless and sloppy, not to mention that Ken doesn't have the most recognizable style or voice on top of it. Yeah, sadly, I really struggled to say anything nice about this LP. And yeah, I assumed people would kind of hate my review, but one thing that kind of confused me about the reaction of some fans was the insinuation that Ken was onto something new here, something groundbreaking that some people just weren't getting, as if his music isn't an obvious continuation of the trippy trap reductionism we've heard from Travis Scott and Future, and already Playboi Carti, the man whose label he is on for years. There are even some quirky and elastic vocal inflections on this new LP that sound like Young Thug. So getting what Ken Carson is doing and where it's coming from is not rocket science. In fact, there's only a thin layer of surface level differences separating it from a lot of other trap out there today, which also includes the way it's marketed. It's dark, it's alternative, it's kind of rock adjacent in a way. It serves as a reminder that style and pretentiousness can go a long way when it comes to repackaging something for an audience. And not that it's necessary that Ken Carson be wholly original and totally unlike any other artist out there, but don't blow smoke up my ass about how what he's doing is somehow beyond comprehension. In fact, it's painfully basic and sometimes feels like a lesser version of the much weirder, darker, and more distorted trap that guys like Cemetery and Haunted Mound have been dropping for a while now. It's also worth mentioning the very dark and lo-fi Memphis rap vibes that guys like Space Ghost Perp were on the scene with back during his early mixtape days. Now, with all of that being said though, this new one from Ken does feel like a slight improvement. The beats generally sound more interesting. They are actually kind of outlandish here and there, like with the spooky leads and speedily throbbing synths on Singapore. And honestly, I'm not sure what the hell is going on with me and my cup. All I know is it sounds insane. And while I'm not crazy about it, it's a pretty ballsy move to throw a synth onto the song Pots that sounds like a goddamn clown tricycle horn. I'll also give it to Ken that the flows on this LP sound more coherent. He doesn't just sound like he's endlessly rambling, while he still does that on occasion, like with Nightcore, where he gives us a lyrical introduction to himself that includes the line, "These dudes constipated and I know I'm the shit, yeah, I need me a pamper." But there are some tracks here that did lead me to kind of bobbing my head and vibing along, be that Green Room or Jennifer's Body or Rockstar Lifestyle. And I will say Carson does make more attempts at choruses on this project too, which is admirable even if some of the results are mixed, like with the kind of annoying hardcore and also a very pitiful attempt at a love song with Nightcore too. The way that she moved, the way that she moved, the way that she moved, the way that Carson even goes toe-to-toe with Lil Uzi on the song Like This, keeping them from completely dominating the track, though I do think a lot of that came down to Uzi not really going into the song with a game plan. Now, even if there are positives and relative high points on this LP, there are still some tracks that are so distorted the beats feel like hot piss being poured right into my ear canal, be that with Succubus or Lose It, and it's just unnecessary. Having the songs be this distorted adds nothing to the track. It's not harsh, it's not scary, it's not out there, it's not outlandish, it's not overwhelming. It just feels like a regular trap song with a light level of white noise being placed over everything. But also, by that same token, the cleanest sounding cuts on the LP, like Paranoid featuring Destroy Lonely, they're so average and nondescript sonically, it's almost like these OPIUM guys need their songs to sound like shit in order for it to come across as an OPIUM type song. In addition to that, there are some tracks on this thing that are so short they might as well not even be here, and dare I say a moment or two that just didn't go hard enough. For example, Vampire Hour's skittering hi-hats and kind of fruity synthesizer loops doesn't exactly capture that vampire energy. We have a forgettable closer on this record too, and honestly, by the end of this thing, Ken Carson has pretty much painted himself into a corner and hasn't provided much in the way of variation across all these tracks. While, like I said, I do think this record is an improvement over his last, yeah, it's not by much. And look, it's not because Ken needs to reinvent the wheel or be wholly different than anybody else out there. You know, just some records that have more substance over style would be nice, or better performances, songwriting that's actually catchy, mixing that's legitimately good. You know, maybe it doesn't just sound like a bass boosted YouTube poop, but I don't know, maybe that's too much to ask. I'm feeling a decent 3 on this one. Tran, Zishin, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Ken Carson, forever.